good afternoon or good evening, Pre-Algebra, as you watch this from the comfort of your home. Tonight we'll be going over PO53, finding a percent of a whole number. The first four objectives this unit were all about conversion stuff. Converting from decimals to percentages and back and forth, and fractions to percentages, back and forth. We'll still be using some of that as we go through the next objectives in our unit. But today we're going to look at a little more real life context of when you would use percentages in daily life. And notice it is a PO, and so you will be required to know this material for the test. Let's look at some real life applications here. First one. She took 20 shots and made 30% of them. Those of you that follow sports and follow stats, 30% of 20 shots, well, how many shots is that? Okay. The question we're asking here is how many shots did she make, right? And we can answer that by finding 30%, put my percentage first here, 30% of 20. That's what we're asking for here. The next one, the test was worth 30 points and she got a 90%. How many did you get correct? If you're taking a 30-point test and you know that you need a 90% to keep that A- average going, how many questions must you get correct to get at least that 90%? Real life application, we're looking for what is 90% of 30. And the last one, the bill of the restaurant. This is certainly topical, maybe not so much in the last year or so, but as you go out and start to dine and pay for your meals yourself and leave tips and whatnot, the bill at the restaurant was about $40 and I left a 15% tip. How much was the tip? We're looking for 15% of 40, right? We're finding a percentage of a whole. How many shots she took, how many points the test was worth, the bill at the restaurant. And there are three methods that we're going to talk about for each of these. And remember, with this flipped classroom model, you're going to come to school tomorrow, not with the entire objective done, but with this first section of notes finished. You're going to show me that you watched the video, you followed along, you took the notes, so that tomorrow we can work on the practice with me here to help you. Any questions that you can get answered. The goal of this is for you to be doing the work part of it in school with my assistants and plenty of time to do it. So pencils out and let's get through these notes together here. So moving down the page, okay. Like I said, we're going to use three different methods here to answer these questions about the shots, the test, and the tip. So the first one, took 20 shots and made 30% of them. How many shots did she make? Again, what we're answering here is what is 30% of 20? And the first method I'm going to show you is by using fractions. Okay? If we want to find out what 30% of 20 is, using our knowledge of converting a percentage to a fraction is going to be helpful. Because what is 30% as a fraction? Well, 30%, 30 out of 100, 30 hundredths. What we want to know is what is 30 hundredths? Set that equal to something over 20. And that's what we're solving for, right? How many shots out of 20 is equal to 30% or 30 over 100? Shooting at 30%, if she took 100 shots, she'd made 30, but she only took 20. So what's that equivalent rate? What's that scale factor? I'm using all these words that we've talked about before and trying to help you see the method that we're going to use here. And in this particular setup, we can use scale factor, we can use cross products, we can simplify a lot of different options here, but it's probably easiest, or most efficient, I should say, to see that the scale factor from 100 to 20 is to divide by 5. So we're going to divide 30 by 5 as well, and 30 divided by 5 gives us 6. She made 6 out of her 20 shots, which is equal to 30%. Right? Using the percentages method, if we are looking for 30% of 20, we can kind of do this mentally even, because this is the last objective on your test you will not be able to use a calculator for. So if we can do this mentally, that's just a bonus. We're going to kind of work to 30% by using 10%, because 10% plus 10% plus 10% equals 30%. It's like 10 plus 10 plus 10 equals 30. 10% plus 10% plus 10% equals 30%. So 10% of 20, do you know what that is? 10% of 20? What I'm asking you here is, what number goes into 20 10 times, right? Because 10% means kind of like 1/10. So what number goes into 20 10 times? 10% of 20 is 2. So 10% of 20 is 2, 10% of 20 is 2. And just how 10% plus 10% plus 10% equals 30%, 30% of 20 equals 2 plus 2 plus 2, which is 6. The same 6 that we got by using the fraction method in the first one. Okay? I'm going to save the multiplication method to the very end just for how glorious of a method it is. I think you'll love it here. But let's go on to the test. Okay? The test was worth 30 points and she got a 90%. How many did she get correct? We're looking for here, what is 90% of 30? So using the fraction method, if we want to know what 90% of 30 is, we're going to write 90% in fraction form. Excuse me, I had a sneeze, so I turned off the microphone. At least I hope I did. So 90 over 100 is 90% in fraction form. We want to know how many questions out of 30 is 90%. Right? So 90 over 100 equals how many out of 30. And we could do ourselves a favor here by simplifying that 90 hundredths to be 9/10ths, right? We can cross out a 0 on each of them there, and 90 over 100ths is equal to 9/10ths. And the reason why I like 9/10ths is because we have a direct scale factor now between 10 and 30. Multiply 10 by 3 to get 30, multiply 9 by 3, and a 27 out of 30 on a test will equal a 90%. Using the percentages method. Again, we're starting with 90% of 30, which means this time we're going to do 10% 9 times. And the first one we did 10% 3 times to get to 30%. Now we're doing 10% 9 times to get to 90%. And rather than writing 9 rows of 10% of 30, 10% of 30, 10% of 30, and adding them all up, I can say, okay, 10% of 30, 1/10 of 30, what number goes into 30 10 times? If 10% of 30 is 3, well, 10% times 9 is going to equal 90%, which means that 90% of 30 is going to equal 3 times 9, which is 27. The same 27 that we got in the last one. Okay, I just found a different way. Again, saving that multiplication method till the very end. But 2 examples now of using fractions and percentages to get the answer. The fraction method requires a little bit of work, probably can't do it quite as mentally, but if you can train your brain to think in terms of 10%, okay, that percentages method works pretty slick. Well, let's look at the last one, the tip, a 15% tip on a $40 restaurant bill. So we're looking for 15% of 40. Okay? Using the fraction method, we're to convert 15% to a fraction. So 15 hundredths is equal to how much out of 40? 15 hundredths is equal to how much out of 40? We could use cross products here, like I said earlier. We could also reduce 15 twentieths if we divide each of these by 5, or sorry, 15 hundredths. If we divide each by 5, we get 3 twentieths equals n over 40. 3 twentieths equals n over 40. 3 twentieths being an equivalent fraction of 15 hundredths, divided both of them by 5. And why do I like that? Well, because 20 has a direct route to 40, right? 20 times 2 is 40. 3 times 2 is going to give us 6. Second time, and we've had 6 as an answer here, but that represents the amount of the tip. $6 tip on a $40 restaurant bill. Using percentages, we want to figure out what 15% of 40 is. So this one, we can break down into 10% again. That's kind of where we start. 10% of 40. What number goes into 40 10 times? What's 1/10 of 40? All these questions are the same. All these questions have the same answer. 10% of 40 is 4. We want 15%. So we need to add 5% to 10% to get 15%. Right? Just like 10 plus 5 is 15. 10% plus 5% equals 15%. So what's 5% of 40? Well, if 10% is 4 and 5 is half of 10, then 5% of 40 is going to be half of 4. I'll say that again. If 10% of 40 is 4 and 5 is half of 10, then 5% of 40 will be half of 4, which is 2. So 15% of 40 equals 4 plus 2, or 6. The same 6 that we got in the first method. So you got your fraction method, you've got your percentages method, the multiplication method. You're going to love this. The first one, we were looking for 30%, of 20. Yes, that's what it was. 30% of 20. We know the answer is 6. Do you see how we can get a 6 from 30% and 20? What? 3 times 2 is 6. That can't work every time, right? The second one, 90% of 30. We know the answer is 27. How do we get 27 from 90 and 30? What? 9 times 3 is 27. 15% of 40. We know the answer is 6. How do you get a 6 out of 15 and 4? Well, this one's a little bit trickier. It's not going to be 15 times 4. We need to insert a decimal point there to get 1.5 times 4, which is 6. It's kind of the same thing as up above, right? If we insert a decimal here, we get 3.0, which is the same as 3, so it doesn't change anything. We put a decimal here, it's 9.0, which is the same as 9, doesn't change anything. But since we have that 5 there, now it does matter. Add that decimal, and 1.5 times 4 equals 60. Or 6. 6. Isn't that nifty? All right. So there's your lesson for PO53. Thanks for watching. You've got the notes now. The question was asked today in class, if you get it, can you just run through the rest of the page? The answer is yes. If you want to do your homework at home, then you can. But be prepared to tomorrow in class kind of be able to answer questions about how you got the answer. Okay. It does just show your work here. So whichever method that you choose, it says use 2 methods from above. You have to get the answer. I do need the work shown. If you want to wait until tomorrow to work on it during class, that's fine too. You'll have me to ask questions. If you have questions from the lesson, bring them tomorrow. You're probably not the only one with questions. We can go over them. But you've got the lesson now. You've got the knowledge. Tomorrow we'll work on the application. And this is the model that our flipped classroom is going to look like. You're doing the work in school, in the room, with a teacher there to help you. You're watching the lesson the night before to get the knowledge to apply the next day. So I'll wrap this up. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night. And don't forget to like and subscribe.